So anyway, this is one that's focused on outdoor recreation. It's this rural county, much like this area in the far western corner of North Carolina, and that's Graham County. And you can see, you can kind of get that vibe here with their county tourism brand there in the middle, and with Fontana Dam, Robbinsville here with their communities that exist within that area. You get that vibe of that 50s era, national parks look to those graphics. That was very intentional because in that community they've got a lot of federal grant lands, they've got a lot of destinations that really have that vibe to it. So every community's got a different story. Every community is going to have a different character that you want to convey. So the next slide really takes that really to the largest piece of branding a community, and that's how we take this message, how we take this graphic, this initial logo, and how do we start to tell our larger story. So when we go to the next slide, we see Stanton again. Not every community has a visitor-focused, focus of what the story is they're trying to tell, but Stanton absolutely does. So one of the things that we help them with is showing how they could, through their digital tools, really create this visitor vibe and tell this visitor destination story in their community. Next slide. This is Newberry, South Carolina. And I'm sure no one in this room knows anything about Newberry, South Carolina, but it's outside of Columbia. A really cool historic town. Really the biggest asset there in their community is this opera house that it's been a million different uses over the years, but ultimately the town transitioned it from town hall into, again, a beautiful performing arts center, just like what we're standing in right here. And when you go throughout the state of South Carolina, they think Newberry Opera House. The first thing that comes to their mind, Newberry Opera House. What we were trying to show them is, give them marketing tools to say, we're much more than the Opera House. And this is part of a series of tools that we created for them. In this case, it's about the arts. We're much more than just that beautiful building, the Opera House. We've got this great and growing arts community there in our place. And this particular brochure is one that we recommended to them that they developed, that if you're driving back down into South Carolina, you stop at one of the welcome centers, you can pull a brochure that talks about all the arts events and all the arts destinations in the community. So in their case, their story was about the arts. Next slide. This is down the road in Henry County. And this was a project that we did with Hill Studio for the Smith River Small Towns years ago. And what their story is about the history and the heritage of all these really small and unique mill towns that they had along the Smith River there in Henry County. It's Bassett, it's Fielddale, it's Kohler, it's those unique places that you have there. And really, what we're showing here is some brochures and some graphics that help tell that story about the place. A very historic focus. Next slide. Back to Graham County, it's about outdoors. They were already creating a regional map of all the outdoor destinations that they had in the community. All we did was design this cover here on the right, your natural destination for all those natural resources and natural experiences that you have in the community. The next slide. This is Clinch River Valley back in Virginia. And again, this is all about natural beauty and the outdoors and these small towns that you have all along the Clinch, and starting in Tazewell and going all the way down, really down to Gate City. I mean, there's probably a dozen little towns there along the Clinch River that are part of the story that's about the Clinch River Valley. These are ads that we created for them, and they are intentionally graphic intensive. We always kind of like to use limited copy, if at all, and in this case, we just have a few taglines here and there about the place, but it's all these graphics, all these special experiences that you have all throughout that Clinch River Valley, from farmers markets to river rafting to these great swinging bridges to all these old historic buildings that you have there in the community. And again, you say so much with these graphics, these ads, that you can deploy really on social media in particular, but you can also put them in regional and statewide media as well. But they're so powerful to say, this is the experience that you're gonna have in this place. Y'all could do 1 million of these in this cool town right here. Big graphics, quick tagline that builds off the initial tagline that says, this is why we, Clifton Forge, are awesome. Next slide, some other ads. This is Buford. In fact, someone I was talking about earlier, you know, y'all have done some good things. Y'all have won some awards for doing these good things in this community. It's absolutely okay to pat yourself on the back. Whenever you get an accolade, let's celebrate that. This is Buford, South Carolina, and they've won all these great awards or your accolades, best small towns, or top 15 small city, or arts destinations, or top 50 adventure towns. You know what? I know we all don't like to, you know, brag on ourselves, but when we're talking about marketing our place, we absolutely should. There's a lot of hard work that you all have done to bring these accolades into your community. Let's tell that story to people on the outside so they will come into our community as well. Next slide. It's also economic development. This is Chatham, not Virginia, this is Chatham County, North Carolina. The project we worked on there was all about economic development. So you can see with these pieces with the logos as well as the, you know, kind of some of the brochures and the ads, it was all talking about economic development, economic investment, whether it's you know, talking about individual businesses, and in this case, the hospital that they have there in the community, innovation in technology and agriculture, or testimonial ads. I mean, all of these are super relevant to people that want to come and invest in your community. This stuff is easy. This is not rocket science. You just have to put those pieces of the puzzle together in your larger branding strategy to tell your story to the community. So the next slide goes into, again, another one in Norton, not too far, well, sort of, you know, still in Southwest Virginia, but it's a ways from us. But again, it's all about outdoor adventure. And you can see their tagline really focuses on that. It's get outside in Norton. But also playing off of that tagline, you can talk about camping in Norton. You can talk about biking or shopping in Norton. You can talk about get outfitted in Norton. We love to put together taglines that are, you know, that are flexible, that you can grow to grow that story, that message about the place. But in Norton's case, whether we're talking about outdoor recreation, or we're talking about downtown dining, or we're talking about biking and shopping, or we're talking about the downtown outfitters, it's all built on that message of outdoor recreation in the community. So the next slide shifts from marketing, advertising, to environmental graphics. You all have some great signage, by the way, here in your community. I think I have another slide that shows that. Some communities where we've worked have taken it to the next level. All of these are in Hendersonville, North Carolina, which is another kind of mountain town in North Carolina near Asheville. And you can see we love to create logos that have an icon that can be separated from the name of the community and used independently by itself as you build that brand equity. When people see that H logo, they'll know that H icon, they'll know that's about Hendersonville. Well, in Hendersonville's case, they put it in their downtown street furniture. They put it in their wayfinding signs. They put it in their gateway signs. They even put it in their tree grates that they have in downtown. Never worked in a community that has gone to this level with environmental graphics, but it really shows how, again, that logo grows into a true brand as you apply this icon throughout sort of that built environment. Next slide is something more conventional that you see These are various places from where we've worked. Brookneal in Virginia, put it on your water tower. Statesville, North Carolina, on their tennis courts. Certainly vehicle graphics that you see. You want to make sure that your brand identity occurs in the places where it needs to occur. And incidentally, particularly in Clinton, North Carolina, that particular one, that is their police vehicles. Their tagline, perfect place to serve, is a playoff of their tagline, perfect place to live. Their seal, which does connect to their marketing brand for the place, but it's official government function, city police. So it has that identity there, that city seal for Clinton, North Carolina. Again, that's how that connective tissue between the place and the government exists. Next slide takes that a step further. You've already done this in your community. You can grow this. We talked about banners already here in tonight's presentation, but whenever we can, use banners strategically to solidify our brand, our message, and certainly wayfinding, which you've done here in the community, and gateway signs as well. That's a really strong way to grow your brand. This is frankly not the banners, but the signs themselves. And then the next slide, which is a gateway sign, not too far away from you all in Bedford. These are expensive. This is expensive stuff here. These are often a longer term strategy because we have to find funding for it, whereas everything else I've shown before this is either cost a very little amount of money or cost $0 to implement. But in Bedford, again, you see that logo there. You see the Peaks of Otter there in the gateway sign itself. This one could not be more strategically located with the actual Peaks of Otter in the background. And so it's kind of crazy. You see the logo and then you see, you know, the inspiration for the logo right there in the background. But these are big things. These are very expensive things, but it's still all part of that long-term brand identity and messaging. So next slide. Merchandising too. We did a regional Southwest Virginia brand that really starts probably in Franklin County, Montgomery County, and then goes to the west from there. So it doesn't get this far. But that was a regional brand that was done before. Different side of Virginia was that particular tagline. But one of the big ways that they regionally have deployed their brand is through merchandising. If you go to, I want to say Heartwood, but it's the Southwest Virginia Cultural Heritage Center now, you can buy all these wonderful products. You go and have a great experience in Southwest Virginia. You can buy a product to where you can take that home with you. And it might be a water bottle. We've got great cycling in that area. It might be a cycling jersey or a t-shirt. One of the things that we love to encourage our communities we work in to do is let's look at a brand as being open source. We're doing this to communicate what's awesome about a place. Well, where's the front line of where residents and visitors interact with our community? It's in our restaurants. It's in our local businesses. It's in our destinations. When you go through a branding process, what we would do to recommend to you is say, let's let this be open source. Let's allow our businesses to use this. Yes, there will be agreements, there will be management of the brand. That's very, very important whenever you're talking about branding. But, for example, let's buy these t-shirts that have a logo on it that says the town of Clifton Forge and the community of Clifton Forge. And let's allow our businesses to buy that from the town at cost, but sell it for a profit. They make the profit. But they're also, again, they're the front lines of that great experience that people are having in your community. And people, when they go into those different destinations and those different businesses, can purchase something and take a little piece of Clifton Forge home with them to be a walking billboard when they're in another place. By the same token, our local businesses can benefit from this larger branding process. And the town itself, because they've given this to these businesses at cost, they're not out a single dime. It's a win-win-win all the way around, and it just works to build that brand equity. So next slide, and we're almost done here. Last few slides are about really kind of growing the brand from that logo to a system. So the first one here is Bedford. We have already seen this. Again, a brand is not just that logo in the upper left. It's taking that logo, it's taking that brand message and that tagline of life, liberty, and happiness, and then starting to extend it to our town government. You see the logo that's reflected there in their town seal. Then also, we expand it into our events, whether it be the Christmas parade or their Peaks of Otter 5K that they have. Then we look at our advertising that we have about the great arts in the community, or this Better in Bedford brochure that they've used to really position it as a great place to live or invest in, or things like water bottles or hats or their farmers market. This is when that logo becomes a brand. The next one is, well, that's Southern Valley. This is a regional one we've done. This is down Danville, Martinsville area, and it's specifically focused on agritourism and agribusinesses. And again, from logo to brand extension to advertisements to marketing, collateral, and signage, that's a brand system. That's not just a logo. And then the last one there is Damascus. Again, I'm sure y'all are all familiar with Damascus. I know it's several counties away from us, but it's such a great place and it's such a great destination. But from their initial logo to their events, to their ads, to their passport that's supporting local businesses, to wayfinding and signage and all that, that's when a brand becomes a brand. That's when it becomes a system. And I think the last slide here, well, this is the one we did in a district in Martinsville, Fayette Street District. And you can see the same thing there with what I showed you the previous slides. But with that, I'll stop talking and I will just open it up to you all if you have any questions at all of me. Yes?
I have a question. You said earlier that there were probably 1 million graphics that we could probably use in our community. How do you narrow that down so that that our logo is going to be memorable and versatile, and what is your process for that?
That's great. Oh, man, that probably is one of the best questions I've ever had, I think, because especially when you talk about process, it's all about the process. Whenever we would come into a community and talk about branding, we don't even do anything creatively before we have as much community engagement as humanly possible. Because we can do all the research we can about a place, and I may have been in a place like Clifton Forge many, many times before, but I know I don't know everything there is to say about this community unless we have that conversation with you all. And the specific answer to your question, which is really an open-ended question, to be fair, is the fruit of that community discussion leads us to what not just that graphic is, but also what that message is, which will ultimately build out the brand system. What it is here, I don't know yet. Until you all have that community conversation, you wouldn't know. But I'll tell you, one of the things that we see all throughout Virginia, Central Virginia in particular, and Southwest Virginia, is every community has mountain logos. And that's awesome. I mean, we go out the store and I can look and I can see these beautiful vistas of all these great mountain peaks that we have, and the sun coming down, or in the morning the sun coming up behind these beautiful peaks. And that's an incredible image that you all get to enjoy every single day in your community. Now, by the same token, these other communities that surround you may already claim that. They may already have graphics. You may have the local plumber in your town that has a mountain logo for the local plumber. In fact, I'll say this, Arnett Muldrow, you wouldn't know this because it's a little bit subtle, but if you look at our logo, there's actually an A and an M in our logo that reflects the mountains of the north part of our county, you know, so we want to create something that's unique. So, to answer your question, what is it that's unique about your place? You know, it might be the arts. I know that you all have a robust arts community here in Clifton Forge. It might be history. You've got this incredible historic architecture here in this community. You know, you look at places like Bedford. Bedford has all these wonderful mountains, and we did reflect that in particularly the town seal with the Peaks of Otter. But really, their focus was about the, you know, the patriotism and the Bedford boys and that whole story. So to answer your question, that community conversation will lead us down a path of what are the values and what are the assets of what makes this place special. And then we take that and we say, okay, how can we communicate this, but make sure we're doing it in a way that differentiates ourselves from these other places that might be within our, you know, sphere of influence. And I hope that answers your question.
Aaron?
Yes.
Aaron, excuse me.
There we go.
Yeah, we are going to have our questions and answers some more downstairs. If we can all move downstairs quickly, is that okay with you?
Follow me.
But let's thank Aaron for that wonderful presentation. And then if everybody will run to the door and either go down the stairs or the elevator, we have treats downstairs for you to grab something to drink and something to eat, courtesy of the town of Clifton Forge.